Well, for the Police Bureau, we have a lot of discretion, and we have to exercise a lot of discretion based on the situation. The higher priority incidents are going to be based on a public safety issue, fights and crime and things that will draw 911 calls. As far as somebody calling just saying, I saw a tent, and expecting police to come and make an arrest, no, I don't think that's the case. We'll go and we'll see what we can do to get that problem, fixed. And our goal always is compliance. Our goal always is to get people the information on resources that are available and encourage them to pack up, clean up, and go out of whatever area they're in. It is difficult, to your point. Where do you tell them to go? Mm-hmm. There is no place to tell them to go. We know that, and it's not. We can't pretend that we can tell them there's a place to go all the time. But in years past, the way things worked, maybe as well as any, was low impact, places where they weren't generating calls for service. There wasn't a large encampment of people. There wasn't a large collection of property and trash, to where most people weren't going to call about that one person or two people sleeping on a bench, packing up their things in the morning and moving on for the day. And officers had and continue to have tremendous discretion on enforcement. We don't want to take enforcement action. We don't want to make arrests and put people in jail for simply camping. We will if we have to. That's a reality too. But for the neighbors and folks, not only in Lentz and on the Springwater, but just citywide, we do hear from and get complaints about camping, homeless related type of activity. And it's not easy for us to solve either. Sometimes the complaint is about something that is non-criminal. Mm-hmm. People sitting in a car parked on the street. There's just not much we can do with that. We can talk to them, we can talk to the neighbors and explain and encourage, but we're also saddled with a lot of other things that require more response and our own staffing issues of trying to do all of these things, and these kinds of challenges take a lot more time and resources than, say, going to an armed robbery or going to a shooting, which is an event-based incident that is over and we leave. So we're going to need people's patience and understanding. With that, we want people to call when they see things that are public safety hazard and risk. People fighting, people using drugs, people committing crimes. We need those calls because the officers can go, they can triage the event. Perhaps an arrest is appropriate, perhaps a conversation is appropriate, and people pack up their things and move on to the next location. And I think you saw today, if you were out there, there was one sergeant and one officer. Mm-hmm. And they probably weren't even needed. But they're very familiar with people along the trail. They built relationships, and they see front line, these people are struggling and are in crisis. And we work for those people too. I mean, they're victims too, and a lot more than people know. And our officers want to help them, but their situation is very different than people that have a place to go. So it's a real challenge for us too to police, and we know residents are frustrated. We hear from them. They feel like they're not getting any service for their, for their public safety because we can't make it go away. And it's just, that's a hard thing for us to do, is to make entrenched problems go away in one incident.
So you guys only had 2 people there?
We had one sergeant and one officer that were kind of walking about. We had others in reserve that were ready to respond as needed. They weren't needed. In fact, the most, from what I'm told, the thing that got anxiety up the most was a helicopter flying overhead. Mm-hmm. And that's the truth. And that's not blame. That was the thing that got people's anxiety up more than anything, was the helicopter hovering over the scene. And we know that sometimes we show up at things, we are the cause of the anxiety. We know that. I mean, it's, part of the deal. But today we weren't needed, and that's great. And going forward, we are well connected with all of our county and city partners, and we are a part of the solution, but we are definitely not the solution.